Amor Fati, the weird quote no one understands. But why? Before we see its meaning, who was the first person to express this idea that we should accept our fate, whatever that might be? It was the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius and his mentor Epictetus who first talked about the concept of Amor Fati. However, the idea was popularized almost 2000 years later by Friedrich Nietzsche. Amor Fati is a Latin phrase and means love of fate. But how does this apply in real life? Should I love my fate if I break my arm, or if I oversleep and miss my exams? That's why this quote is so weird, because it's so counterintuitive. By the end of this, you'll gain a clear understanding of how every event in your life, no matter how big or small, carries a deeper purpose and significance. To better illustrate the concept of Amor Fati, we'll see 3 real-life stories that turned the lives of famous people upside down. The first 2 stories will surprise you, but the third one will shake you to your core. This is Thomas Edison's factory in 1914, the house where all the inventions of the greatest inventor of all time could be found, from the phonograph to the light bulb. Unexpectedly, the factory got destroyed, and with it all of Edison's life work. But how did this happen? Later that evening, Edison left the factory to go home after a usual, exhausting but extremely productive day. He was looking forward to rest and sleep and returned there the next morning. But fate had different plans for him. Everything seemed normal and Edison was enjoying the family dinner. However, after he finished dinner, a man came running at his house and shouted, "Your factory is on fire." At age 67, most people would expect Thomas Edison to pass out or have a stroke. This was his life's work after all, his legacy testament. Edison rushed into the scene and so did fire engines from all over town to extinguish the fire. If the building got burned, all Edison's patents would be gone. Unfortunately, the factory burned relentlessly, with flames dancing up in the sky. But then, Edison did the unthinkable. Amidst the chaos, Edison managed to find his son. He looked at him and told him, "Go get your mother and her friends, because they will never see such a display ever again." This is exactly what Amor Fati is. He started rebuilding the factory the next morning. Was Edison nuts? Maybe, but he was also brilliant. Here's exactly how he went about it. He understood immediately that there were nothing he could do to stop the fire, and he told himself, "Well, if this is what I have to face, then I might as well be happy about it." Wanna hear the craziest part? The disaster cost him $1 million, 23 million in today's value, but he completed the year with a revenue of 10 million, or $200+ million in today's money. Could this have happened if things had stayed normal? I doubt it. Either way, a seemingly bad event turned out to his advantage. If you were Edison, how would you have reacted? Obviously, most of us, if not all of us, would have been devastated by this disaster. But this is our difference with Edison. The guy immediately understood his role in the event, which was that of the observer. He could not do anything to alter the event, and he started thinking about his next moves. Does this apply in worse situations like the death of a loved one or losing one's freedom? The next story has the answer, because it's about the life-changing impact prison can have on a criminal. In fact, it will make you consider what has happened in your life so far and urge you to question the way you have chosen to think about these events. If Edison's story wasn't crazy enough, maybe you haven't heard of the notorious Malcolm X. Most people know what Malcolm X did after he got out of prison, but they don't understand how prison made that possible. Malcolm X was a criminal, and going in jail was literally the best thing that ever happened to him. Yes, you heard that right. He was 20 years old when he was in prison. So, there he was in prison. Another number, another body. Now what? What would Malcolm choose to do with his time there? Would he accept his fate and take advantage of it to exit the jail a new man? Or try to escape, potentially get out, repeat his mistakes and go all over again? This is when he decided that his life had to turn around, for real. He chose a lifetime over dead time. However, it wasn't as easy as he thought it would be. He didn't even know how to read, let alone become a new man. "That's it, I quit," he said to himself. He decided to give up and remain the same criminal that had entered those prison bars. But he knew inside him that he had to change. And so, he started reading books, lots of them. He read social psychology, religion, philosophy, everything. But how did he learn to read, you might wonder? In the beginning, he used to grab 1 or 2 books and copy them down longhand from cover to cover. He was in prison, but he had never felt so free. Malcolm X had no excuses anymore. He had used all of them in his previous life. The day came and he was released. He felt so grateful that he had used his time, and he knew that now a new life was unfolding in front of him, full of opportunities and endless possibilities. Okay, so can I do whatever I want in life and fate will take care of me? You might ask now. Amor Fati, or love your fate, doesn't mean that you can do whatever the fuck you want, disengage from life and still thrive. Instead, it urges you to make deliberate, better, wiser choices and focus all your energy on the process. And here's the interesting part. After you've given your all, there's an outcome, favorable or not. If it is not the outcome you wanted, who said that it wasn't the outcome you needed? How would you say that the destruction of Edison's factory was devastating when it made him more careful and 10x'd his income? Would you say that Malcolm X lost his freedom when he was imprisoned? The guy changed the world with his example and first of all, himself. I don't even want to imagine the path he would have followed had he not entered jail. Probably, he would still be a criminal. From now on, for everything that happens to you, take a step back and say to yourself, okay, this might not be what I wanted, but what do I know about the future? Nothing. Therefore, it might be exactly what I needed, even if it doesn't seem that way. Now, you might think that you have fully understood the meaning of Amor Fati, and you are ready to apply it in real life scenarios, but don't be so foolish. Others spend years trying to figure out its meaning. That's why I included one more quick story that makes the two previous ones obsolete, so pay attention. We are in year 500 BCE in ancient China. There is a farmer, but the civilians in that city think he's weird. One day, his horse escaped from the stable and ran away. His neighbors came to him and said, "What a misfortune, your horse is gone. This is surely a bad event." To their surprise, the farmer simply replied, "Maybe, maybe not." Are the neighbors right? Let's see. A few days later, the farmer's horse returned to the stable, accompanied by a wild horse. Now, the farmer had two horses. His neighbors came again and said, "What a great luck, your horse has returned, and now you have an extra horse. This is surely a good event." Once again, the farmer calmly replied, "Maybe, maybe not." The farmer's son was trying to train the wild horse. In an unexpected turn of events, he fell off and broke his leg. The neighbors, once again, concerned for the son's well-being, said to the farmer, "What a tragedy, your son has broken his leg. This is surely a negative event." This time, the farmer replied, "Maybe, maybe not." However, 2 weeks later, a war broke out in the region and all fit young men had to fight. The farmer's son, with his broken leg, was exempted from serving. The neighbors, realizing the unpredictable nature of events, came to the farmer and said, "What a blessing, your son didn't have to go to war. This is surely a good event." The farmer looked at them, opened his mouth and said, "Maybe, maybe not." Now, think about the most recent so-called negative event that happened in your life. Was getting rejected by that girl really so heartbreaking? Or did you get rid of another chick that was ready to dump you for a show-off? Maybe you gained more time to appreciate your friends and build a solid six-pack. Who knows? Was it actually a tragedy? Maybe, maybe not.